Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining me here in this third part of the series, all about how to get more of what you want from your relationship. So, in the very first video, I told you that in order to get what you want, all you have to do is ask. Now, there are a couple things that have to be in place first. In week one's video, we talked about the need for healthy self-esteem, neither grandiose and better than or shameful and less than. In week two, we talked about the need for appropriate boundaries, neither boundaryless nor walled off. So this week, we're going to put those two concepts together. Now, this is not original content to me. In fact, it's adapted from Terry Real's work. So he plots the self-esteem going up and down on what would be the y-axis for you math and geometry nerds. And the x-axis is the boundaries, from boundaryless to walled off. And he refers to this as the relationship grid. Okay? So then when you look at the grid, you then have four quadrants. You have one up boundaryless, you have one down and boundaryless, you have one up and walled off, and you have one down and walled off. And there are characteristics that are pretty unique to each of those four quadrants. The good news is that once you determine what your default is, right, when you feel what Terry Real refers to as the whoosh, right, when you get activated, when you get frustrated, overwhelmed, feel like you're being attacked, whatever, you tend to go to one of those four quadrants. Once you can figure out which of the four unhealthy quadrants you go to, it allows you to then figure out what you need to do to bring it back to center, because that's the place where you're able to get more of what you want from your relationship, and that's where intimacy lies. Okay? So let's talk a little bit more about each of the four quadrants, starting with the walled off and one up. So this is a position of feeling superior to and walled off. It's a place of indifference or passive aggression. You don't deserve my love, right? This one, many people might refer to as being kind of narcissistic, right? Then we move over to the boundaryless and one up. And this quadrant's kind of go-to behaviors are control, anger, right? Violence lives here. It's these are people who typically, when we talk about them being boundaryless, it's that inner boundary, that containing boundary, that's too fluid. The solution for them is to contain themselves and keep them from spilling out into the world, onto their partner, and bringing back to health. Right? Then we have walled off and one down, and this is a position of withdrawal, resignation, even depression lives here. It's the I can't do anything right, maybe I don't even deserve to be loved, I give up. Okay? Then on the other side from that, we have boundaryless and one down. And the characteristics here are that of desperation and manipulation. This is the love me, love me, love me. I'll do whatever you want if you'll just love me. It's what Terry Real refers to as the Marilyn Monroe syndrome. Right? It's that desperation and that manipulation. Right? So you can see that on the side of the boundaryless, we have commonalities of control, both overt control from the one up position and covert control or manipulation from the one down. And then withdrawal being walled off on the other side. So in your intimate sexual relationships, you tend to have a go-to, the one quadrant that it kind of speaks to you, right? And I know that we as therapists, we look at this and we're like, well, I'm all of those things, right? It depends on the circumstance. But what I want you to look at specifically is your closest relationship, either your current intimate partnership or your most recent partner relationship. And that's where you determine which of the four quadrants, right? Um, so again, the good news is that once you know where you go into the unhealthy quadrants, you then know the remedy, right? If you're one up in boundaryless, you need to come down, firm up your boundaries a bit. If you are one down and walled off, you need to bring yourself up to same as, and then you need to soften those boundaries a little bit. So while identifying the problem is the first step, it automatically gives you the remedy. Uh, it allows you to switch from that knee jerk reaction to being in awareness, or what Terry Real refers to as being a functional adult. Right? When you're able to come from that place of center, that's when you can achieve and get more of what you want from your relationship. Right? So, next week, what we're going to talk about are 5 losing strategies, things that get in the way of being center, of getting what you want, and successfully asking for those things. Right? So, stay tuned, and we'll be back with you next week.